I called the police after my mom abandoned my siblings at my doorpost. Moving out, I was making instant ramen when someone knocked on my door at 9 p.m. on a Tuesday. I opened it and there stood my mom with my two younger siblings, Grace, who's 8, and Logan, who's 10. They had backpacks and looked confused. "You watch them tonight, I have plans," Mom said casually. "What, Mom? I have work tomorrow at 6 a.m. Thanks." She turned and walked toward the parking lot before I could finish talking. "How long is tonight?" I yelled after her. "I'll text you," she shouted back without turning around. Grace started crying. Logan just stood there holding his dead Nintendo Switch. I pulled them inside and called Mom straight to voicemail. I called 6 more times. Nothing. An hour later she texted, "Stop being dramatic, they're your siblings. I raised you, now you help me out." I called again. She actually answered, "Mom, you can't just leave them here. I moved to Arizona with Kevin last week. I thought your aunt told you." "You what? Don't start. I deserve happiness too. Kevin got a job in Phoenix. The kids were holding me back from my new life. So you're just abandoning them? You're 23 with your own place. Stop being selfish. I did my time as a parent, now it's your turn." She hung up and blocked my number. Logan asked for my leftover ramen. Grace asked when Mom was coming back. I said soon and turned on cartoons. I texted my Aunt Kim, "Did you know Mom moved to Arizona?" "Yeah, she told me last month. Said she was leaving the kids with you since you have space. Now I have a studio apartment." "Well, I can't take them. I have my own kids and Mark lost his job." I sat on my bathroom floor and called 911. 2 police officers showed up 30 minutes later. Officer Garcia and Walsh. They took my statement while Grace and Logan ate pizza rolls on the couch. "Your mother lives in Arizona now?" Garcia asked. "Apparently. She told me tonight, just dropped them off and left. And she's refusing to return. She blocked my number." Walsh made calls on his radio. Garcia talked to Grace and Logan separately. Turns out Mom had been staying in hotels for 3 weeks with Kevin, telling the kids they were on vacation. She pulled them out of school without telling anyone. No forwarding address. Child Protective Services showed up around midnight. Woman named Janet asked about my living situation and income. "Can you take temporary custody? I work 50 hours a week at a warehouse. I can barely afford rent. Foster care is extremely full if you're family and willing. It's better for them." I looked at Logan and Grace sleeping on my couch, sharing my only blanket. "Temporary," I said. "Until you find Mom." Janet handed me paperwork. Next morning I called my boss and explained. He let me take the week off unpaid. I got school transfer papers. Bought air mattresses with my emergency savings. Called every number for Kevin. Nothing. 3 days later, Mom posted on Facebook from a California beach with Kevin drinking cocktails. Caption said, "Finally living my life." I screenshot it and sent it to CPS and police. Mom's sister called screaming that I got Mom in trouble. And how dare I involve police in family business. I hung up. A week later, police in Phoenix found Mom at Kevin's apartment. He was served with abandonment charges and a court order to return. She refused and got arrested. Kevin bailed her out, then dumped her. 2 months later, CPS called Mom, signed away her parental rights rather than face charges. Aunt Kim suddenly wanted custody, but only for the Social Security survivor benefits from our dead dad. DPS denied her. I got permanent custody. My apartment denied my lease renewal because 3 people violated occupancy rules. I moved us into a 2-bedroom that costs way more. I work overnight shifts now, so I'm home when they're awake. Logan joined soccer. Grace stopped crying every night. Mom sent a friend request last month. I declined it. She texted from a new number asking if the kids want to video chat. I blocked it. The screen went dark, and for a moment, I just stared at my phone, watching my own reflection in the black glass. My thumb hovered over the device, trembling slightly, not from hesitation, but from the weight of finality. 3 words. That's all it took to sever the last thread connecting us to the woman who'd birthed us but never truly mothered us. Outside my bedroom window, the the Phoenix sunset painted the sky in shades of burnt orange and deep purple, the kind of beauty that felt almost offensive given the ugliness of the moment. I could hear Logan in the living room, his voice rising and falling as he narrated his video game to no one in particular, a habit he'd developed since moving in. Grace's softer laughter drifted from the kitchen, probably watching those baking videos she'd become obsessed with lately. They didn't know. They didn't need to know. I set the phone face down on my nightstand and pressed my palms against my eyes until I saw stars. The exhaustion wasn't just physical anymore, it had seeped into my bones, settled into the spaces between my ribs, made a home in the hollows beneath my eyes that no amount of concealer could hide. 23 years old, and I felt ancient. My alarm clock glowed 6:47 p.m. in aggressive red numbers. 3 hours until my shift started at the warehouse. 3 hours to make dinner, help Grace with her math homework, make sure Logan had his soccer uniform ready for tomorrow's practice, pack lunches, prep breakfast for the morning, and maybe, if the universe decided to show mercy, take a shower that lasted longer than 4 minutes. Riley? Grace's voice came through the door, small and uncertain. She still knocked like she expected to be turned away, even after 8 months. Can you help me with number 12? I don't understand the fractions thing. Coming, sweetheart. I forced brightness into my voice, the same way I forced my body upright despite its protests. The same way I forced one foot in front of the other, day after day after day. The living room smelled like the lavender plug-in I'd bought from the dollar store, artificial and trying too hard, but better than the musty scent that had permeated my old studio. This apartment wasn't much, but it had 2 bedrooms, actual bedrooms with doors that closed and windows that opened. Logan had tacked up posters of soccer players I didn't recognize. Grace had arranged her stuffed animals by size on her bed with the kind of precision that broke my heart a little. She sat at our second-hand dining table, the one I'd found on Facebook Marketplace for $50, her worksheet covered in eraser marks and small, frustrated scribbles. Her dark hair, the same shade as mine, as Mom's, fell in tangles around her face. I made a mental note, dead angler spray, Saturday morning, make it fun somehow. Okay, let's see. I slid into the chair beside her, close enough that our shoulders touched. She leaned into me instinctively, seeking warmth, seeking safety. 3/4 plus 1/2. What's tricky about this one? The bottoms don't match. She pointed at the numbers with her pencil, the eraser chewed down to a nub. Mrs. Patterson said we need a common something. Common denominator. I grabbed a piece of scratch paper, began drawing circles and dividing them into sections. Imagine you're sharing a pizza with Logan. I don't want to share pizza with Logan. She giggled, and the sound was sunlight breaking through clouds. He eats all the pepperoni. I do not. Logan shouted from the couch without looking away from his screen. You eat all the cheese. Both of you eat everything and I end up with crust, I said, and they laughed, and for a moment, just a moment, this felt like what a family was supposed to feel like. We worked through the fractions together, Grace's brow furrowed in concentration, her tongue poking out slightly the way it did when she focused hard on something. By the time she understood, by the time she completed the worksheet with those careful, deliberate numbers she wrote, the clock showed 7:23 p.m. Dinner in 10 minutes, I announced, heading to the kitchen. Logan, you need to pause that and set the table. But Riley, I'm in the middle of. Now, please. He groaned with the full dramatic weight of a 10-year-old's persecution, but he paused the game. Small victories. That's what the family therapist Dr. Chen had said during our 3rd session, the only one I could afford before my insurance ran out. Celebrate the small victories. Progress isn't linear, especially with trauma. Trauma. Such a clinical word for what they'd been through. What we'd all been through. I pulled ingredients from the refrigerator, chicken breasts I'd bought on sale, frozen vegetables, rice. Nothing fancy, but nutritious enough. The chicken sizzled when it hit the pan, filling the kitchen with the smell of garlic and paprika. I'd learned to cook through YouTube videos watched during my lunch breaks, the phone propped against the microwave in the warehouse break room while I shoveled down whatever I'd packed that day. Riley? Grace appeared beside me, her completed worksheet clutched in one hand. Can I be your helper? Of course. I handed her a wooden spoon. Stir the rice every 2 minutes so it doesn't stick, okay? She nodded seriously, accepting the responsibility with the gravity of someone being trusted with something important. Because she was. Because I needed her to feel needed, to feel like this was her home too, not just some temporary stopping point. Logan set the table with mismatched plates and forks that didn't quite align, but he said it, and that was what mattered. We ate together at 7:45 p.m., the three of us crammed around a table meant for two, knees bumping, elbows jostling. Grace talked about the book they were reading in class. Logan complained about a kid named Brandon who kept hogging the soccer ball at recess. Normal. We were building normal from scraps and duct tape and sheer stubborn will. After dinner, after dishes, after making sure backpacks were by the door and lunches were packed in the refrigerator, I stood in the doorway of Grace's room while she climbed into bed. The night light cast soft shadows across her face, making her look even younger than 8. Sing the song, she asked quietly. You're getting too old for lullabies, Gracie. Please? How could I say no? I sat on the edge of her bed and sang the only song I knew by heart, something our grandmother used to sing before she passed, before everything fell apart. My voice cracked on the high notes, but Grace didn't care. Her eyes drifted closed, her breathing slowed, and by the final verse, she was asleep. I checked on Logan next. He'd actually brushed his teeth without being reminded, another small victory, and was already under his covers, eyes half closed. You okay, bud? Yeah. He yawned. Riley? Are you gonna leave us too? The question hit like a fist to the sternum. I crossed the room in 3 steps and knelt beside his bed so we were eye level. Never. You hear me? Never. You're stuck with me. Promise? I promise. I held out my pinky, and he linked his with mine, that sacred childhood contract that meant more than any legal document. Now get some sleep. Big game tomorrow. His eyes closed before I'd even left the room. The warehouse was a 40-minute drive across town, through neighborhoods that got progressively rougher as streetlights became sparse and storefronts wore metal shutters like armor. I clocked in at 10:02 p.m., late, again, and caught Rick's disapproving look from across the loading dock. Sorry, I mouthed. He just shook his head and turned back to his clipboard. The night shift was 12 hours of repetitive motion, scan, lift, place, repeat. My muscles had memorized the rhythm months ago, leaving my mind free to wander through worry like fingers through a rosary. Had I paid the electric bill? Yes. Was Logan's permission slip signed? Yes. Did Grace need new shoes? Probably. Could I afford them? Not until next paycheck. Around 2 a.m., during my 15-minute break, I sat in my car and checked my phone. A text from Janet at CPS, checking in. Everything okay? All good, I typed back. Kids are adjusting well. The lie was easier than the truth. Easier than explaining how Grace still wet the bed sometimes, how Logan flinched when doors slammed, how I cried in the shower every morning because it was the only place they couldn't hear me. My phone buzzed again. Unknown number. My heart stuttered. I know you blocked me, but I need to talk to you about the kids. I've changed. Kevin's gone and I've been in therapy. I deserve a second chance. Mom. My fingers hovered over the keyboard. Part of me, the part that was still 6 years old and wanted a mother who braided her hair and remembered her birthday, wanted to respond. Wanted to believe in redemption and second chances and people fundamentally changing. But the rest of me, the part that had held Grace while she screamed for a mother who wasn't coming back, the part that had watched Logan's face crumple when he realized he'd been abandoned, that part knew better. I deleted the message without responding and blocked the number. Then I called Janet and reported it, because that's what the custody agreement required, because I was doing this right even when it hurt. 3 weeks later, on a Saturday morning that smelled like pancakes and possibility, everything changed. I was flipping blueberry pancakes, Grace's favorite, when someone knocked on the door. Not the aggressive pounding of angry landlords or the official rap of police officers, but something gentler. Hesitant. Through the peephole, I saw a woman in her mid-50s, gray hair pulled into a neat bun, wearing a cardigan despite the Arizona heat. She held a casserole dish covered in aluminum foil. I opened the door with the chain still attached. "Can I help you, Riley?" Her voice was soft, almost musical. "I'm Margaret Chen. I live in 3B, 2 floors down. I've been meaning to introduce myself for months, but..." She gestured vaguely with the casserole. "I'm a terrible neighbor. But I wanted to bring this up. I noticed you work nights, and I thought maybe having a home-cooked meal you could just heat up might help." I stared at her, at this stranger offering kindness without expectation. Thank you. I also wanted to mention, and please, tell me if I'm overstepping, but I'm a retired elementary school teacher. I have my afternoons free, and I couldn't help but notice you have 2 young ones. If you ever need someone to watch them after school until you wake up, I'd be happy to help. No charge. I just miss having kids around. The casserole dish trembled slightly in her hands. She was nervous, I realized. Nervous that I'd reject her offer, misunderstand her intentions. "I don't know what to say," I admitted. "Say you'll think about it?" She smiled, and it reached her eyes, created constellations of wrinkles at their corners. "I'm in 3B. I make terrible coffee but excellent snacks. And I have a Wii with Mario Kart." Logan appeared behind me, drawn by the mention of video games. "Riley, who's that?" "A neighbor," I said slowly. "Mrs. Chen. Call me Margaret, please." She waved at Logan. "You must be the soccer player. I've seen you practicing in the courtyard." His eyes widened. "You watch me play? Hard not to notice when someone has that much talent." She winked. "My grandson used to play midfielder. I could teach you some tricks he showed me, if you want." I saw it happen in real time, Logan's guard dropping, his shoulders relaxing, a smile breaking across his face like dawn. "Really? Really?" Margaret looked at me, her expression understanding. "Think about it, dear. My door's always open." She left the casserole and her phone number scribbled on a torn piece of envelope. I stood in my doorway long after she'd disappeared down the stairs, holding evidence that maybe we weren't as alone as I'd thought. The casserole was chicken and rice with vegetables, perfectly seasoned and clearly made from scratch. We ate it for dinner that night, and Grace declared it the best thing she'd ever tasted. I saved Margaret's number in my phone under Mrs. Chen 3B and didn't let myself hope too hard. But on Monday, when I woke up at 3 p.m. exhausted and disoriented, there was a note slipped under my door: "The kids are with me in 3B. Logan's doing homework, Grace is helping me bake cookies. Come down when you're ready. No rush. Margaret." I stood in my kitchen, holding that note, and cried for the first time in months with something other than despair. Margaret became a fixture in our lives with the steady reliability of sunrise. She picked the kids up from school 3 days a week, fed them snacks, helped with homework, taught Logan increasingly elaborate soccer footwork in the courtyard while Grace learned to bake everything from chocolate chip cookies to something Margaret called friendship bread that required a sourdough starter and patience. She never asked invasive questions. Never pushed for details about our situation. She simply showed up, consistently and without fanfare, and gave me the space to breathe. "You remind me of my daughter," she told me one evening when I'd come to collect the kids. They were in her living room, engrossed in a Mario Kart tournament. "She's a single mom too. Lives in Seattle, works herself to death trying to give her son the world." She handed me a container of leftover lasagna. Someone helped her once, when she needed it most. Watched her boy after school, gave her a soft place to land. "I'm just paying it forward." "I don't know how to repay you," I said, my voice thick. Don't repay me. Just do the same for someone else when you're able. She squeezed my hand. That's how we survive, dear. We hold each other up. By month 4 of Margaret's help, I'd saved enough to move my shifts from overnight to evening, 6 p.m. to 4 a.m. instead of 10 p.m. to 8 a.m. It meant I could have breakfast with the kids before they left for school, could attend Logan's soccer games on weekends, could help Grace with her increasingly complex science projects. Small victories were adding up to something bigger. Logan's coach, a man named Tom who'd played semi-professionally in his 20s, pulled me aside after a particularly good game where Logan had scored twice. "Your brother has real talent," he said. "Has anyone ever talked to you about club soccer?" "Club? Competitive leagues. Better coaching, more opportunities. It costs money, though. About $1,500 a season, plus travel expenses." He must have seen my face fall because he quickly added, "But there are scholarships. Financial aid. I can help you apply if you're interested." I looked at Logan on the field, celebrating with his teammates, his face flushed with joy and exertion and belonging. "Yeah," I said. "I'm interested." Grace's teacher, Ms. Patterson, requested a meeting in November. My stomach churned the entire drive to the school, convinced I was about to hear about behavioral problems or falling grades. Instead, she showed me a creative writing assignment, a story about a girl who became a superhero whose power was making broken families whole again. "Grace has an exceptional imagination," Ms. Patterson said, her eyes kind behind wire-rimmed glasses. "But more than that, she has emotional intelligence beyond her years. I wanted you to know she's thriving here, Riley. Whatever you're doing at home, it's working." I read the story twice, memorizing the way Grace had described the superhero sister who worked really hard and made the best pancakes and always kept promises. The sister who'd saved her. That night, I framed the story and hung it in Grace's room. The holidays arrived with the kind of speed that feels personal, time mocking my attempts to prepare. My budget was tight, tighter than usual with Christmas approaching, and I lay awake nights trying to figure out how to make the day special without breaking what was left of my savings. Margaret found me in the laundry room one December evening, folding clothes with mechanical precision while mentally calculating gift budgets. "You look troubled," she observed, loading her own washer. I told her. "Not everything, but enough. The impossible math of making Christmas happen on a warehouse worker's salary." "I have a thought," she said slowly. "And you can absolutely say no. But my church does a Christmas toy drive every year. They provide gifts for families who need a little extra help. It's dignified, anonymous. Just something to consider." Pride warred with practicality. Pride lost. "I'd appreciate that information. I'll email you the details tonight." She closed her washer, then turned to face me directly. "Riley, accepting help isn't failure. It's survival. And survival is what you're teaching those kids, how to keep going, how to ask for support, how to build community. Those are valuable lessons." Christmas morning arrived cold and bright. The tree I'd bought from a lot that sold them half price on Christmas Eve stood crooked in our living room, decorated with ornaments the kids had made from construction paper and glitter. Underneath, wrapped in newspaper comics because I'd run out of wrapping paper, were presents from the church toy drive, a new soccer ball and cleats for Logan, an easy bake oven for Grace, and, to my shock, a coffee maker with a note, for late nights and early mornings. "You're doing amazing." No signature. Logan screamed when he saw the cleats, the exact brand his teammates wore. Grace cried happy tears over the oven, immediately demanding we make cookies. I drank coffee from my new maker and felt something dangerous and fragile blooming in my chest, hope. We spent the afternoon at Margaret's, where she'd prepared a feast and invited 2 other families from the building, single parents like me, people navigating their own complex stories. We ate too much, laughed too loud, played board games until the kids fell asleep on her couch in a pile of contentment. "Thank you," I told her as I carried a sleeping Grace toward the door, Logan stumbling sleepily behind me. "For all of this." Thank you for letting me be part of your family, she replied. You've given me more than you know. January brought new challenges. Logan's scholarship application for club soccer required essays and recommendations and fee waivers. Grace needed glasses, $200 even with insurance. The car made a sound that suggested expensive repairs looming on the horizon. But January also brought Janet's annual review visit, where she sat in our living room and asked the kids questions while I tried not to panic. Do you feel safe here? She asked Grace. Yes. Riley always makes sure we're safe. Do you have enough food? Riley makes the best dinners. And breakfast. And Margaret teaches us to bake. Is there anything you need that you don't have? Grace thought hard. I wish Riley didn't have to work so much. But I know she has to. So mostly I just wish she wasn't so tired all the time. My throat tightened. Janet turned to Logan. How about you, buddy? How are things? Good. Really good. He picked at the soccer ball beside him. Riley comes to all my games now. And she helped me with my scholarship essays. She doesn't really understand soccer, but she tries. Do you miss your mother? Silence. Then, sometimes. But Riley's our family now. Like, actually our family. She chose us. Janet wrote notes on her tablet, her expression neutral. When she finished with the kids, she sent them to their rooms and turned to me. Riley, I'm going to be honest. When I first placed the children with you, I wasn't sure it would work. You were young, financially unstable, living in a space too small. You had every reason to fail. My heart sank. But you didn't fail. She smiled, a real smile, warm and genuine. You've created a stable home. The children are thriving academically and emotionally. You've built a support system, you're managing your resources responsibly, and most importantly, those kids know they're loved and wanted. I'm closing your case, Riley. No more check-ins. They're yours, officially and permanently. I couldn't speak. Could barely breathe. Congratulations, Janet said softly. You did it. Logan got the scholarship. Full ride for club soccer, including uniform and travel expenses. He ran 3 laps around the apartment when I told him, shouting loud enough that neighbors knocked to make sure everything was okay. Grace's glasses arrived, purple frames she'd chosen herself, making her look simultaneously older and more vulnerable. She wore them proudly, reading everything she could find, devouring books from the library with the hunger of someone making up for lost time. My car died in March, finally surrendering whatever mechanical ghost had been holding it together. But Margaret connected me with her nephew who sold me his old Honda for $800, a steal, he insisted, because Margaret says you're good people, and I trust her judgment. The first anniversary of becoming their legal guardian passed quietly. We celebrated with ice cream sundaes and a movie marathon, the 3 of us crammed onto the couch that was still technically too small but felt just right. Do you think she ever thinks about us? Grace asked during a commercial break. Mom? I chose my words carefully. I don't know, sweetheart. But I think about you every single day. About how lucky I am to have you. We're lucky too, Logan said, not looking away from the TV. Even if things are kind of hard sometimes. Especially because things are hard sometimes, I corrected. That's how you know it matters. Easy things don't mean much. Grace nestled against my side, and Logan threw his legs over both of us, and we stayed like that until the movie ended, tangled together in our too small apartment that had somehow become home. I got a promotion at the warehouse in May, supervisor position, day shift, for $1 more per hour. It meant normal hours, weekends with the kids, health insurance that actually covered dental. It meant stability of a kind I'd only imagined. My first paycheck at the new rate, I took the kids to a real restaurant, not fast food, but a place with tablecloths and a menu without pictures. Logan ordered steak. Grace got shrimp pasta. I had chicken marsala and didn't check the prices. This is fancy, Grace whispered, eyes wide at the ambience. We're celebrating, I told her. All of us. We've worked hard this year. You worked hard, Logan corrected. We just did kid stuff. Kid stuff is hard too, I said. You both came through something difficult and you didn't give up. That's worth celebrating. We ate slowly, savoring every bite, making jokes and memories and plans for summer. Logan wanted to go to soccer camp. Grace wanted to visit the science museum. I wanted to save enough for a real vacation, maybe camping, maybe the beach, somewhere that felt like freedom. When the bill came, I paid it without flinching. Without counting. Without anxiety. Small victories. June brought Logan's 11th birthday. He wanted a party, his first real party with friends from school and soccer. We held it at the public park, 30 kids running wild on the playground while parents I'd befriended over the past year helped me manage chaos. Margaret brought a cake decorated like a soccer field. Grace organized games with the intensity of a military general. I watched Logan, surrounded by friends, laughing with his whole body, and saw no trace of the frightened boy who'd stood on my doorstep 9 months ago holding a dead Nintendo Switch. You should be proud, Margaret said, appearing beside me with a cup of punch. Look what you've built. I didn't do it alone. No one ever does, dear. That's not weakness. That's wisdom. In August, Grace turned 9. She wanted a small party, just her 3 closest friends, baking cookies together in Margaret's larger kitchen, decorating them with frosting and sprinkles and more enthusiasm than skill. I bought her a cookbook designed for kids, filled with colorful pictures and easy recipes. She clutched it to her chest like treasure. Best present ever, she declared, and I believed her. That night, after her friends had gone home and Logan had fallen asleep mid-video game, Grace and I sat on her bed while I brushed her hair, now reaching her shoulders, healthy and shining in the lamplight. Riley, she asked quietly. Are you happy? What? Are you happy? Like, really happy? Because you work so hard and you're always tired and sometimes I feel bad that we make things harder for you. I set down the brush and turned her to face me. Grace, listen to me. You and Logan didn't make my life harder. You made it matter. Before you, I was just existing. Working and sleeping and not much else. But now I have a reason to wake up. A reason to try. You're not my burden. You're my purpose. Her eyes filled with tears. Really? Really truly. I kissed her forehead. I'm happier than I've ever been, and that's because of you. Both of you. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe, and I held her right back, memorizing the weight of her, the smell of her strawberry shampoo, the absolute certainty that this was where I belonged. Fall arrived with cooler temperatures and new routines. Logan started middle school, navigating lockers and class changes with the same determination he brought to soccer. Grace entered 4th grade with her purple glasses and a newfound confidence that transformed her from shy to quietly bold. I enrolled in night classes at community college, business administration, because my supervisor at the warehouse said with a degree, I could move into management, could build a real career instead of just working a job. You don't have to do this, Margaret said when I told her. You're already doing so much. I want to, I replied. I want to show them that it's never too late to grow. To change. To become more than what you were. She smiled. You're already showing them that every single day. October brought an unexpected visitor. I was making dinner when the buzzer rang, sharp and insistent. Through the intercom, a voice I half recognized said, Riley? It's Aunt Kim. Can we talk? I hadn't spoken to her since she'd screamed at me for calling the police 14 months ago. Hadn't seen her since she'd tried to get custody of the kids for the Social Security benefits. No, I said into the intercom. Please. Just 5 minutes. I need to apologize. Against my better judgment, I buzzed her up. She stood in my doorway looking smaller than I remembered, older, worn thin by whatever had happened in the intervening year. Her eyes were red-rimmed, her hands twisting together nervously. "What do you want?" I asked, not inviting her in. "To say I'm sorry." Her voice cracked. "For everything. For not helping when you needed it. For trying to use those kids. For blaming you when you did the right thing. Mark left me last month and I've been doing a lot of thinking, and I needed you to know that I was wrong. About everything." I leaned against the doorframe, exhausted suddenly. "Okay. Can I see them? The kids? Just to see that they're okay?" "No." The word was gentle but firm. "They're doing great, and I'm not going to disrupt that by bringing you back into their lives. But thank you for apologizing. I mean that." She nodded, tears spilling down her cheeks. "You're a better person than me, Riley. Than any of us. Those kids are lucky to have you. I'm lucky to have them." She left quietly, and I closed the door on that chapter of our story. Thanksgiving at Margaret's became a tradition, a gathering of the families she'd collected in our building, people who'd found each other in the margins and made something that felt like belonging. We went around the table sharing gratitudes. Logan was thankful for his soccer team. Grace was thankful for her easy-bake oven and her glasses and her best friend Sophia. Margaret was thankful for the life and laughter we'd brought back into her days. When it was my turn, I looked at Logan and Grace, at Margaret and the other families who'd become our tribe, and said, "I'm thankful for second chances. For the opportunity to become who I needed to be." "And who's that?" someone asked. "Their sister. Their guardian. Their family." I reached for Logan and Grace's hands. "Everything that matters." Christmas was bigger than last year, still modest, still carefully budgeted, but with genuine celebration. I'd saved enough for real gifts, a new gaming system for Logan that he'd been dreaming about, a junior chef starter kit for Grace complete with her own apron and kid-safe knives. But the real gift came when Grace handed me a clumsily wrapped package on Christmas morning. Inside was a framed drawing, the three of us in front of our apartment building, stick figures holding hands under a crayon sun. At the top, in Grace's careful handwriting, "Our family." Below that, she'd written, "Riley, Logan, and Grace. Forever." I cried right there in the living room, not caring that I was ruining the moment, because it wasn't ruined at all. It was perfect. "Do you like it?" Grace asked anxiously. "I love it," I managed. "I'm hanging it right above the couch where everyone can see." And I did. The new year brought new dreams. Logan was selected for a regional soccer tournament in California, his first trip out of state for the sport, his first taste of what his talent might become. Grace joined a young chef's program at the community center, learning knife skills and food safety and basic recipes under the supervision of a retired restaurant owner who saw potential in her steady hands and fearless flavor combinations. I completed my first semester of college with a 3.7 GPA, proving to myself that exhaustion wasn't the same as inability, that you could be tired and still be capable. We were building something. Not just surviving anymore, but thriving. In February, exactly 2 years after that Tuesday night when Mom left them on my doorstep, I took the kids to a family law attorney Margaret recommended. "I want to make it official," I told her. "Not just legal guardianship. Full adoption." The attorney, a kind woman named Patricia, explained the process. The paperwork. The court date. The finality of it. "Are you sure?" she asked. "Guardianship is already permanent. Adoption is." "I'm sure," I interrupted. "They deserve to have a family that chose them completely. No halfway measures. No questions about where they belong." Logan and Grace sat in the waiting room, nervous but excited. When I came out, I knelt in front of them. "How would you feel about changing your last names to mine?" I asked. "About making this official. About being actual, legal, forever family?" "We're not family already?" Logan asked, confused. "We are. But this would make it so that no one could ever question it." Not Mom, not anyone. You'd be mine, and I'd be yours, in every way that matters. Grace threw her arms around my neck. Yes. Yes, yes, yes. Logan tried to play it cool, but his voice shook when he said, yeah, that'd be really good, Riley. The court date was set for April 15th. A Tuesday, coincidentally, 2 years and 2 months after the night that changed everything. Margaret helped me shop for new outfits for the kids. Logan got a button-down shirt and slacks that made him look absurdly grown up. Grace wore a purple dress that matched her glasses, her hair French braided by Margaret's patient hands. I wore the only professional outfit I owned, a simple black dress I'd bought for job interviews, but this felt infinitely more important than any job. The courtroom was smaller than I expected, less intimidating. Judge Morrison was a woman in her 60s with kind eyes and a gentle demeanor. She reviewed our paperwork, asked Logan and Grace if this was what they wanted, listened to their enthusiastic affirmations. Riley, she said, looking directly at me. Do you understand the weight of what you're taking on? The commitment you're making? Yes, Your Honor. And you're certain this is what you want? Not obligation, but genuine desire to be their parent? More certain than I've ever been about anything. She smiled. Then I'm delighted to grant this adoption. Congratulations to all of you. The gavel came down, and just like that, Logan and Grace weren't my siblings anymore. They were my children. We celebrated at the restaurant we'd gone to for my promotion, the fancy one with tablecloths. Logan ordered steak again. Grace got lobster this time, feeling adventurous. I had champagne, just one glass, and felt like I was floating. To our family, I toasted, raising my glass while they raised their lemonades. May we always take care of each other. To Riley, Logan added. For being the best. To us, Grace finished. Forever and ever. We clinked glasses and drank deep, savoring the moment, the certainty, the joy of choosing each other every single day. Spring became summer. Logan's soccer team made it to state championships. Grace won 3rd place in a junior cooking competition with her signature dish, blueberry pancakes with vanilla cream sauce, a recipe she'd perfected through countless Saturday mornings of practice. I graduated with my associate's degree in business administration, walking across the stage in a borrowed cap and gown while Logan and Grace screamed my name from the audience loud enough to embarrass me and make me impossibly proud at the same time. Margaret threw us a graduation party, inviting everyone from the building, the soccer team, Grace's cooking class, my coworkers, the patchwork family we'd assembled from lonely people who'd found each other. Speech, someone called out, and the room took up the chant. I stood, reluctantly, and looked at the faces gathered in Margaret's living room. I don't really do speeches, I started. But I'll say this, 3 years ago, I thought I knew what family meant. Blood, obligation, the people you were born to. But these 3 years have taught me that family is who shows up. Who stays. Who chooses you when they don't have to and loves you anyway. I found Margaret in the crowd, then Logan and Grace sitting together on the couch. You've all shown up for us. Held us up when we couldn't stand on our own. Loved us into wholeness. So thank you. For being our family. For being our home. The applause was thunderous, but quieter than Grace whispering, "We love you too, Mom." Mom. She'd never called me that before. Neither of them had. I'd been Riley, always Riley, because I didn't want to replace the mother who'd abandoned them. But in that moment, I realized, I wasn't replacing anyone. I was becoming someone new. Someone they needed. Someone I needed to be. I love you too, sweetheart, I whispered back. Both of you. More than anything. Summer ended, as summers do. Logan started middle school sports with a confidence that would have seemed impossible 3 years ago. Grace entered 5th grade with plans to start a baking blog. Margaret was helping her set it up. I started a new position, assistant manager at the warehouse, salary that finally felt like enough, benefits that covered everything we needed. We moved. Not far, just to a 3-bedroom apartment in a better neighborhood, close to better schools, with a park across the street and a community pool. Logan got his own room. Grace got hers. And I got mine, with a door that locked and a bed that didn't squeak and windows that faced the sunrise. On our first morning in the new place, I woke to the smell of pancakes burning. I rushed to the kitchen to find Logan and Grace attempting breakfast, flour coating every surface, smoke rising from the griddle. "Surprise?" Grace said weakly, waving a spatula. "We wanted to make you breakfast," Logan added. "To celebrate the new place." I looked at the disaster zone of my kitchen. At the pancake batter on the ceiling, how had they even managed that? At their hopeful, anxious faces. And I laughed. Deep, genuine, the kind of laughter that comes from joy instead of hysteria. "Come on," I said, grabbing the spatula from Grace. "Let me show you how it's done." "But you're both on cleanup duty." "Deal," they chorused. We made pancakes together, proper ones this time, golden and fluffy and perfectly cooked. We ate them on the balcony of our new apartment, watching the sunrise paint the sky in shades of hope. "This is nice," Logan said through a mouthful of pancake. "Like, really nice." "Yeah," Grace agreed. "It feels like we finally made it." I looked at them, at the life we'd built from nothing, from less than nothing. From abandonment and crisis and sheer desperate determination. "We did make it," I said softly. "And we're going to keep making it, every single day." 3 years and 6 months after that Tuesday night in September, I received a letter. It was from Mom, forwarded through the family court system. My hand shook as I opened it. "Riley, I don't expect you to forgive me. I don't deserve forgiveness. But I wanted you to know that I'm getting help. Real help. I'm in a program for people with untreated mental health issues and addiction. I'm learning about the damage I caused, the lives I destroyed with my selfishness. I signed away my rights to Grace and Logan because I know, that I would only hurt them more. You've given them something I never could: stability, love, a real home. The therapist showed me the court records of your adoption. I'm glad. I'm so glad they have you. I'm not writing to ask for anything. Not forgiveness, not contact, not a place in your lives. I just needed you to know that I'm sorry. For everything. For putting you in an impossible position. For failing you, and them, and myself. I hope you're all happy. I hope they know how loved they are. I hope someday you can think of me without anger. Mom." I read the letter 3 times, sitting on my bed in the quiet afternoon while the kids were at school. I felt, not forgiveness, exactly. Not yet. Maybe never. But something softer than anger. Something like closure. I wrote back, eventually. Just 2 sentences. "We're doing well. We're happy. That's all you need to know." I sent it, then filed her letter in a folder labeled "For Later," for when Logan and Grace were old enough to decide if they wanted to read it, to know that their biological mother had acknowledged her failures. But that was future business. Present business was picking the kids up from school, helping Grace practice her presentation on photosynthesis, driving Logan to soccer practice, making dinner, doing homework, reading bedtime stories even though they insisted they were too old. Present business was living. Year 4 began with new traditions. Sunday family dinners with Margaret and whoever else needed a place to belong that week. Monthly movie nights where we took turns choosing films. Weekly game nights that got increasingly competitive. Grace was cutthroat at Monopoly. Logan made varsity soccer as an 8th grader, almost unheard of. Grace started teaching basic cooking classes to younger kids at the community center, patient and encouraging in ways that made my heart swell. I got promoted again. Manager now, real salary, retirement plan, college fund for the kids. We took our first real vacation, a road trip to the Grand Canyon, 5 days of terrible car singing and questionable gas station snacks and memories that we'd carry forever. On the rim of the canyon, watching the sunset paint the ancient rocks in impossible colors, Grace slipped her hand into mine. Mom, she said, it was Mom now, had been for months, and I still felt my heart stutter with joy every time. When you were our age, did you ever imagine your life would turn out like this? I thought about 18-year-old me, working 2 jobs to afford a studio apartment, isolated and lonely and convinced that was all life would ever be. No, I admitted. I didn't imagine anything this good. Me neither, she said quietly. I thought after everything, nothing would ever be good again. But this is good, Mom. This is really, really good. Logan appeared on my other side, wrapping an arm around my shoulders even though he was almost as tall as me now. Better than good, he corrected. This is everything. And standing there, between them, watching the sun set over one of nature's most magnificent creations, I realized he was right. This was everything. Not the life I'd planned. Not the life I'd expected. But the life I'd been meant to live all along. We drove home singing off-key to pop songs on the radio, stopping at diners with questionable hygiene ratings, collecting cheap souvenirs and expensive memories. We got home late on a Sunday night, exhausted and happy, and fell into our beds in our home. Our home. Our family. Our everything. Epilogue, 6 years later. The coffee shop is busy on Saturday mornings, but we have our regular table, corner booth, good lighting, close to the bathrooms because Grace is 7 months pregnant and needs to pee every 20 minutes. Logan sits across from us, fresh off a plane from North Carolina where he's playing Division I soccer on a full scholarship. He's taller now, broader, with the kind of confidence that comes from knowing exactly who you are and what you're capable of. Grace is in her second year of culinary school, engaged to a sweet guy named Marcus who makes her laugh and treats her like she hung the moon. She's beautiful, radiant, glowing with impending motherhood and dreams of opening her own bakery. And me? I'm the regional manager now, overseeing 3 warehouses, making enough money to help Logan with expenses his scholarship doesn't cover and to contribute to Grace's wedding fund. I finished my bachelor's degree last year, business management, taking classes online while working full-time. Margaret sits with us, older now but still sharp, still kind, still the grandmother we chose and who chose us back. Tell me again, Grace says, sipping her decaf latte carefully. About the night we showed up. It's a story they ask for sometimes, usually when we're all together, usually when they need to remember how far we've come. So I tell them. About instant ramen and unexpected knocking. About backpacks and confusion and their mother's casual cruelty. About calling 911 and making impossible choices and deciding that love was more important than being ready. You were so scared, Logan says. It's not a question. Terrified, I admit. I had no idea what I was doing. But you did it anyway, Grace says softly. You chose us anyway. Best decision I ever made. Even though it was hard? Logan asks. Even though you had to give up so much? I look at him, at the man he's becoming. At Grace, about to become a mother herself. At the family we built from ruins and determination. I didn't give up anything that mattered, I tell them. I gained everything that does. Grace's phone buzzes with a text from Marcus. Logan checks the time, he has dinner plans with some high school friends who still live in town. Margaret needs to get home to prepare for her Sunday knitting circle. We gather our things, hug goodbye, make plans for tomorrow's family dinner. As they walk away, my kids, my family, my heart walking around outside my body, Margaret touches my arm. You did good, Riley, she says quietly. You took a catastrophe and turned it into a miracle. We did good, I correct. I couldn't have done it alone. No one ever does, dear. She pats my hand. That's the whole point. I watch Logan and Grace walk down the street together, laughing at some joke I can't hear, comfortable in the sibling bond that's deepened over the years. They're not the frightened, abandoned children who showed up on my doorstep anymore. And I'm not the terrified 23-year-old who had no idea how to raise kids. We grew together. Healed together. Became family together. 6 years ago, my mother abandoned her children and destroyed her family. 6 years ago, I built a new one from the ashes. And every single day since, I've chosen them. And they've chosen me. That's what family is. Not who you're born to, but who you'd choose 1,000 times over. And I'd choose them every time. Every single time.